What's up guys, I'm Chad and this is a shit show. I wanted to make a video today just to produce content, get it out there and try and get consistent with it, but the weather obviously didn't work out for me. So instead, I'm gonna go through my perspective of how to select your next motorcycle, whether it's your first motorcycle or you're moving up from a Sportster to a Softail, from a Softail to a bagger, whatever the situation is. If you've got questions, hopefully this video helps you understand the bikes and their different purposes. So stay tuned. So we're back at the apartment and let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this video. So what I'm trying to accomplish is to give you guys some insight in the different functions of each one of these motorcycles for your next purchase, whether it's the first purchase or the 10th purchase. They're all different in their own way and they all have pros and cons. So I'm gonna quickly go through them and hopefully this helps you to make the best decision possible for your next purchase. All right, so real quick, the Iron 883 is the first in the bunch. The Iron 883 is a great bike for around town, bar hopping, commuting. Not a great bike for the highway, I'll be honest with you. It's not a great bike for country cruising, cross-country cruising, or performance. In terms of these different categories, I gave it a 7.9 around town, 5.2 in the country, 1.9 cross country, and a 2.1 for performance. Just with the 3.3 gallon gas tank, you're not getting very far with that motorcycle. You're gonna be filling up a lot. It's best used for around town. It's very light, agile, it's easy to handle and maneuver. It's great at low speeds, but in terms of the higher speeds, it's just not the bike for you. So when it comes to the 48, it's going to be a similar situation to the 883. One more simple drawback to the 48 over the 883 is the gas tank. It's a 2.1 gallon gas tank. You can't go very far on that bike. It is a great bike for around town. It looks cool. It's got the forward controls on it. It puts you in a very slumped over seating position, which wouldn't be a problem for around town, but if you go on longer trips, you're gonna hate the seating position on that bike. And the seat is not very comfortable. But it works best around town. Don't try to take it on a cross-country trip. So I gave it a 6.8, a 3.4, a 1.2, and a 2.4. So as far as the Street Bob goes, 114 motor, 3.5 gallon gas tank, mid controls, mini ape hangers, decently comfortable seat, and a passenger setup. It's a great all-around motorcycle. I think 7.9 around town, 7.6 in the country, 5.2 cross-country, and 6.3 for performance are pretty fair for that bike. I like the Fat Bob for performance. Dual disc brakes, inverted front suspension, I like the tires. It puts you in a very aggressive seating position, but for that reason, I'm not a huge fan of that bike around town. I don't like the drag bars and the forward seating. A taller guy might get more use out of it, but I'm 5'11". It's a very comfortable seat, but it's a little bit taller, a little bit higher center of gravity. Maneuvering tight spaces, low speeds wouldn't be the best on the Fat Bob. You'd be better off on something like a Street Bob. As far as performance goes, it does a great job. It handles really well. It's got power for days. So as far as where I ranked it, 4.8 for around town, 6.2 for country, cross country 5.1, and 6.8 for performance. The Lowrider S is without a doubt one of my favorite motorcycles right now. It's got a 114 motor, inverted front suspension, dual disc brakes, monoshock like everything else in the Softail lineup, and a 5 gallon gas tank so you can go longer distances. I gave it 6.3 around town. That is absolutely a bike you can ride around town, rip it up, have fun, it looks good, it's agile, it's good at low speeds, it's got a low center of gravity. 8.4 for country, because that's really where this bike shines. It loves to hit the twisties, big sweeping corners, even little tight corners, doesn't like stop signs very well. And 6.9 for cross country, because there are a couple things you can do to that motorcycle that would make it much better for longer trips. 8.2 for performance, because that's really what that bike was made for. It was made to perform. So the Lowrider ST is going to be a great motorcycle for longer trips and kind of like country cruising. I gave it a 6.2 for around town because the fairing is probably going to hurt you a little bit in terms of your visibility and your leaning. 8.9 for country cruising. I think longer trips, like little 300 mile, 400 mile day trips are going to be really comfortable for this motorcycle. 8.6 for cross country. This is a bike you can take across the country without any kind of issues. And an 8.4 for performance. So cruise control and the fairing are gonna help this bike out a lot for longer trips. So the Heritage is another one of those bikes that kind of just does it all. It can cruise around town without any issues. It's light, it's low to the ground, very low center of gravity. It gives you confidence in the city. You can cruise around country riding without any kind of issues at all. Cross country, I've got some customers that actually take these bikes cross country on long trips and they never have any issues. And then in terms of performance, it handles really well. It's one of those bikes that gives you total confidence right out the gate. You've got locking bags, you've got floorboards, you've got a removable windshield, you've got a 5-gallon tank. That bike kind of just does it all. So I gave it a 6.7 around town, 8.3 in the country, 8.1 cross country, and a 6.8 for performance. All right, so as far as the Fatboy goes, the Fatboy is a decent bike all around, but it doesn't do anything really well. It's a cool looking motorcycle. It's got the big 5-gallon tank, the big rear fender to match that 240 back tire. It's got the big 180, I think, is the front tire. And it's got the solid wheels to give it kind of a different look. They started doing chrome on it last year to give it that custom look. It wouldn't be the best bike for around town because of those tires. You can't really dip and maneuver very well. If you're bar hopping on it or commuting quick little trips, it wouldn't be a bad deal. You can ride it on the highway. It's got 6 gears like any other Softail. I gave it a 6.2 around town, 6.4 for the country, 5.1 cross country, and a 4.1 for performance. So the Road King is the entry level to the touring lineup. It's got a 6-gallon tank, hard locking saddlebags. It's on the touring frame, obviously. Quick detach windshield. You can have optional RDRS system as well and dual disc brakes up front. So it's a bike that you can do 200 or 300 mile day trips on with no issues. And you can also go cross country on this thing with no problems at all. You can cruise around town, but it's not the bike I'd pick for it. 5.3 around town, 7.8 in the country, 7.8 cross country, and 4.6 for performance. So with the Street Glide and Street Glide Special, I'm going to cover them both in one take. So with the Street Glide and Street Glide Special, I'm going to cover them in pretty much one take. So with the Street Glide and Street Glide Special, it's going to be very similar to the Road King. You get hard locking saddlebags, you get a 6-gallon tank, you get dual disc brakes, optional RDRS system on the touring platform. It's a great motorcycle for longer trips. I ranked it a little bit higher than the Road King for the simple fact that you get GTS, which has GPS built in, and Bluetooth. You also get a stereo. So longer trips, you'll be a little bit more preoccupied having something to listen to. So 4.2 around town, 8.9 in the country, 8.9 cross country, and 5.2 for performance. So as far as the Road Glide goes, I think the Road Glide and Street Glide are pretty damn similar. They're right there. The only difference is the front fairing. You got Road Glide fans, you got Street Glide fans. I personally think the Road Glide does handle better at lower speeds and even higher speeds. As far as wind buffeting, I don't think there's a huge difference, but there's guys that will defend that to the death. So I give it a 4.2 around town as well, a 9.1 for country cruising, and a 9.1 for cross country, as well as a 6.1 for performance. Test ride one for yourself and you tell me. I really think the Road Glide handles a little bit better than the Street Glide. So as far as the Ultra Limited goes, it is the ultimate in touring bikes. That and the Road Glide Limited, we're going to talk about that next. It is not a great motorcycle for cruising around town. I gave it a 2.4 because it's a 950-pound motorcycle. It's up there. It's great for country cruising and cross country because you get the 6-gallon tank, the dual disc brakes, the GTS, the optional RDRS, the locking saddlebags, the tour pack. You get the whole 9 yards. In terms of performance, I put it at a 5.2 because you can still, despite that bike being heavy, you can still cruise through the corners pretty well on that bike. So for the Road Glide Limited, it's about the exact same as the Ultra Limited. I ranked it a little bit higher in country riding and cross country riding, and a little bit more on performance as well because of that front fairing. There's no weight on the bars. I feel like you can handle better on that bike. Same around town. It's a 950-pound bike and you don't want to be lugging that weight around town. It's not great for it. So that about wraps it up for this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought about it. Please like, subscribe, share these videos, and give me feedback if you want to see something different in the next video or if you like this style of video. I'll keep doing these. Later.